Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys finally is a new video. Now in today's video, what I actually want to look into is a game which I've wanted to cover for some time now, that being Battlefield 5, and more specifically, is Battlefield 5 worth a purchase in 2019? So as an avid fan of the Battlefield franchise since Bad Company, I put an unhealthy amount of hours into Battlefield 4 on the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. 2014 was probably the best year of my life in terms of gaming because of next-gen Battlefield. I never really touched Hardline apart from the alpha. It just wasn't a game that appealed to me whatsoever, and Battlefield 1 was sort of a mixed bag that I later found a lot of enjoyment with when Battlefield 5 released. But from a Battlefield fan and the standpoint of someone that has basically played all of them except the very early ones, Battlefield 5 really frustrates me, and this is why. Battlefield 5 is infamously known for its launch. The reveal trailer was just absolutely plain shit compared to Battlefield 1 with the fucking Seven Nation Army just playing. There's just fucking explosions going off, and there's just no coherent story or anything like that in the reveal trailer. Right from the off, something was not quite right, and the trailer instantly put this sour taste into people's mouths. There was also that kind of small thing to do with, you know, the pandering to SJWs that was seen a small amount in Battlefield 1, but for the Battlefield 5 launch, it was literally rammed down your throat. EA then added fuel to the flames with "don't like it, then don't buy it," which actually worked a fuckload because Battlefield 5 on launch was fairly empty. The game did not have an easy launch, and even in the modern day, it's still plagued by really harsh stereotypes and criticisms from all the way back when it first released. But as a Battlefield fan, I really want to like the game, and that is because I always wanted Battlefield 5 to make a return to World War II, and unfortunately Battlefield Vagina isn't quite what I imagined. Modern day DICE games are unfortunately ruined by EA. There is no other way to say it. EA is an absolute cancer, and unfortunately it has severely infected DICE. DICE's games, as I said, in the modern day are often incomplete, with content trickled out slowly over time. The game is usually buggy as hell on launch and is often stuffed to the brim with loot crates and real world money purchases. Battlefield 5 is no exception, but it's also not the worst case that we have seen from EA and specifically DICE. So I want to start off by talking about the negatives. This is where a lot of people are gonna want to know what is wrong with Battlefield 5, and I'm gonna try my best not to talk about the stuff which has already been spoken about to absolute death. So first and foremost, there is a real lack of content. Battlefield 5 at launch just felt really empty. We're talking really lackluster. Battlefield 1 brought in this weird trend of modern DICE games just being really stripped back and simple, like how with the previous Battlefield installment, that being BF1, instead of attachments, you just have 3 different gun variants with slightly different stats. The days of BF4 where everything was customizable, you know, guns, soldiers, parachutes, vehicles, is just now a thing of the past. That complexity that kind of defined Battlefield has just been lost. There is no nicer way to say it. Battlefield 5 has this overwhelming feeling that what you see on the surface is it. There's no deeper customization, there's nothing to level up or unlock. It feels like the game instantly opens up to you at level 1. Battlefield 4 again had the bipod knife, the extensive dog tag customization, the Phantom Project, camos, you know, none of it exists. And if it does exist in Battlefield 5, it just feels completely pushed under the rug, like dog tags, for example. Do dog tags exist in Battlefield 5? I have no fucking clue. DICE's idea of stripping the premium pass for BF5 to make way for free content that, you know, eventually just comes out over time is an excellent idea on paper, but in reality, it just means we're waiting ages for a new map or weapon. The Pacific Theater of War is on the way to BF5, which which I really love, and I'm so glad that that's being done. But the point is, it's way too late. It should have been in the game at launch, and maybe then players would have been a bit more excited. Next up, that goddamn social justice warrior pandering. Just like Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5 has this overarching sense of political correctness. In Battlefield 1, you could sort of get away with it due to women actually serving in some armies on the Eastern Front, but Battlefield 5, it just feels completely out of place and forced. Censoring swastikas in a World War II game is just silly, especially since you can blow up soldiers and brutally stab them with a fucking hatchet, but showing a historically accurate flag is too much. It just doesn't really make sense. Female soldiers are a given at this point in time, and I think a lot of people have come to accept that we are just going to have a multitude of different characters to play with in online games. But in terms of immersion, yes, it does sometimes just make me laugh out loud. When you're bleeding out on the ground and there's fucking explosions going off all around you, there's people screaming out for help, and from 20 meters away, all you can hear is what sounds like a fox having sex at 3 in the morning. It's just a complete juxtaposition, which really does take away from that slightly realistic and intense feeling that Battlefield 5 radiates. Moving on now to Conquest, and Conquest is just fucking bad. Battlefield 5's maps are honestly dreadful, and this really does show the most in Conquest. Conquest in past Battlefield titles was the staple of what differentiated the series from Call of Duty. We had huge sprawling maps, tons of vehicles and opportunities for gameplay, which made multiplayer feel more like a sandbox and less like a linear map like something of Quake or Call of Duty. Think of Caspian Border from Battlefield 3 or Silk Road from Battlefield 4, you know, big fuck off maps which made Battlefield famous. And BF5 just does not do this, with like 1 or 2 exceptions. The worst offender by far is Rotterdam, you know, the beta map that made near enough everyone chat shit about the game. I get it's supposed to be an infantry focused map, and we did have that in the past with, you know, maps like Metro, for example, but it quite literally has 3 lanes. Just like Aerodome or whatever the fuck it's called, the one with the big hangar in the middle, and just like that goddamn snow map, which I can't remember, which is up in the mountains, this 3-laned formula is something which made Call of Duty famous, not Battlefield, and it makes sense for something like Rush or Operations, but in Conquest, where you're supposed to be on a literal battlefield, having this really tight constricted map just feels shit. The only map I truly enjoy in Battlefield 5 that resembles something of the past is Narvik, because of the scenery and mixture of infantry and tank gameplay, but also, and this is a very controversial opinion, but Panzerstorm. Panzerstorm is by far the most open map in BF5. There are just fuckloads of vehicles, there's loads of space, and that's all I want. For the most part, the maps in the game just feel so tight and constrained, like with some buildings being out of bounds or areas being unreachable with invisible barriers. That isn't what made Battlefield. What made Battlefield was letting me jump out of a fucking fighter jet onto a big fuck off crane that no one else can reach. Again, think of Firestorm from Battlefield 3. So with the negatives out of the way, and believe me, there are a load more tiny, you know, precise things which I could pick out, but the video would just be a big hating on Battlefield 5, and I don't want that. Let's actually move on to the positives, because Battlefield 5, although it has its problems, and these problems are really fucking big, the game actually does do so much well. And one of the first things which I have to give the game credit for is the smoothest and most satisfying gameplay that we have seen from a Battlefield title. So going back to older Battlefield titles like 4 after playing Battlefield 5 makes you realise just how far the movement and gunplay has come. Battlefield 5's addition of, falling backwards into a prone position, jumping through windows automatically, the new reviving system where you're actually, in an animation, the game just feels really fucking beautiful and modern. It is truly a next-gen Battlefield title. The gunplay especially complements the new movement system, and as I said, it takes a lot to go back to older Battlefields when you're used to how buttery everything is. By far the worst offender is Battlefield 4. When I've booted it up on PC and played around with it, you just notice how clunky and awkward it feels. Battlefield 5 and even Battlefield 1 to some extent really did introduce that fluid running and gunplay system that just feels so natural and lovely to play around with. Battlefield 5 takes what Battlefield 1 introduced and just fucking stabbed it in the neck with a load of steroids. Next up, the Attrition system. So the Attrition system is something that's very unique to Battlefield 5, and it's basically a gameplay choice that allows you to have less ammo, less health, and less resources. The intention was to make it feel like a last-ditch attempt at trying to win something. There's even some precise moments where I think in operations, if there's a draw, everyone has this like final fight to the death with limited ammo and only one respawn. And having so little ammo and health allows for these absolutely crazy scenarios when you're just pinned down on your own with so few resources left and you just have to fend off for yourself. There's fucking people climbing over the hills, guns blazing, explosions going off. It's just incredible. Gone are the days of just chucking a fat ammo crate on the floor and sitting on it awkwardly to gain every item back. Now you just gain the primary and secondary ammo, but say only one rocket or actually none of your grenades, which really does reduce the explosive spamming that was a massive problem in Battlefield 4. So the attrition system just creates this really desperate fight into the last clip sort of ambience that just bangs in the setting of World War II. I honestly think the attrition system is one of the smartest and best introductions that DICE made to Battlefield 5, and without it, I feel like it would just feel like a DLC of Battlefield 1. Next up, Battlefield 5 is just a fucking beautiful game. It's so nicely optimized, more than Battlefield 1 I found, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. You also have ray tracing options for rich people, and hopefully I can join those rich people when I get my 2070, but there's also intense snow and leaf particle effects that are just ridiculous to watch, revamped destruction and ragdolls. It's just a stunning game that has become a benchmark for PCs in the modern day. As I said, Battlefield 5 is truly the first next-gen feeling Battlefield title, and that really does show, especially if you're playing on PC. And finally, there are some amazing only in Battlefield moments. Remember those cringy ass promo videos for BF4 back before it launched, where all these supposed players would tell stories of a tank plowing through a room they were hiding in and managing to escape with a fraction of health? Yeah, that still exists in Battlefield 5. Battlefield 4 had these moments to an amazing extent, and even to this day I can still remember some of the crazy shit that happened way back in 2014, but Battlefield 5 just ups that even more. For example, the Stukas. Oh my fucking god. By far one of the most famous noises from World War II, and having these planes just going in for runs, spraying up all of your soldiers, all while that so famous engine noise plays out. The atmosphere is just there. It's so intense, and there's just always crazy shit happening all the time. For a Battlefield game that is just renowned for being hectic with loads of explosions and destruction and death, it just nails that, and it's by far one of the best things that the game achieves. So in conclusion, Battlefield 5 is such a strange game to me. I really like it, but then at the same time I just really fucking hate it. It is definitely worth a purchase in 2019, probably probably not at full price, but it is a decent game. And this is what annoys me, because if Battlefield 5 had launched in the same way that Battlefield 1 did, you know, with an amazing reveal trailer, without EA telling us to literally fuck off and not buy their game, I think Battlefield 5 would be hailed as one of the best games in the franchise. However, the launch of the game and the lack of content and EA and just where it launched, you know, in between Red Dead 2 and things like that, just contribute to the game feeling extremely underloved. Some of that is, in fairness, you know, EA deserve it 100%, but at the same time, I kind of feel bad for DICE. It's clear they put a lot of work into Battlefield 5, and it doesn't just feel like a reskinned Battlefield 1, yet people despise it to some extent because of what EA did at the launch of the game. Battlefield 5 does so much right, yet so much horribly fucking wrong, and as soon as you're thinking things are going smoothly and you're loving everything, you'll see or feel something that's just plain out of place, and vice versa. I would only ever buy Battlefield 5 on sale, and granted, without the premium pass, you're probably getting a load more content than you would have done with Battlefield 1, and it also does have a fairly healthy player base on PC. Probably not the highest, but you can still always find a game of near enough every game mode. Maybe if you're going at weird times, possibly not, but I guess every game is like that. So yeah, Battlefield 5 is an interesting game. It's a big fat mixed bag of emotions, but by far it is definitely worth a purchase in 2019, and this is coming from, as I said, a fairly hardcore Battlefield fanboy. I'm a big fan of the game, but I'm also a pretty big hater of the game. It's a strange mix. Some days I love it, some days I hate it. It is very much a love and hate relationship with Battlefield 5, but yes, please do pick it up if it is on sale. So guys, that is just about all I have to say for today's video, but I do hope that you guys enjoyed. As always, if you did enjoy, then please do feel free to leave a like on the video, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.